Amid the luxurious skyscrapers of Chicago, there was a man who held an entire empire in his hands, but was powerless before his 3 children. Countless nannies came and went, leaving an ever-growing emptiness in the cold penthouse, until Hannah appeared, not as a miracle, but as a reminder that love and presence are the most precious inheritance of all. Yet could that love be strong enough to overcome fear, prejudice, and unhealed wounds? This is not only the love story of a CEO and a nanny, but also a journey of finding one's family, finding one's trust, and finding oneself. Morning sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling glass, reflecting on the marble floor of a luxurious penthouse in downtown Chicago. From the 48th floor, the city stretched out like a massive painting, crowded streets packed with cars, buildings piercing the sky, and in the distance, Lake Michigan shimmering like silver. It should have been a view of peace, power, and wealth. But inside Ethan Whitmore's home, the young, wealthy CEO of Whitmore Innovations, there was nothing but chaos. A scream rang out from the hallway. "Sophia, don't pour the red paint on the rug. That's a real Persian rug." What followed was a burst of giggles, carefree and fearless. Then another voice, a boy's, chimed in. "This is a volcano erupting. Daddy said science needs experiments." A more petite girl's voice, full of mischief, joined in. "Liam's right. This is a rainbow volcano." And just like that, seconds later, a small boom echoed as a bottle of acrylic paint toppled over, spilling into a bright red streak across the living room, the very room once praised by Architectural Digest as minimalist, elegant, and as flawless as an art gallery. Ethan Whitmore stood frozen at the doorway, clad in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, his blue tie hanging like a reminder that he had a board meeting in just 45 minutes. But the scene before him left him rubbing his temples. He could sign contracts worth hundreds of millions and convince investors from Silicon Valley to Tokyo with just a few words. Still, he was helpless before 3 mini hurricanes, his 6-year-old triplets, Sophia, Liam, and Chloe. Stepping further in, Ethan nearly slipped on a pile of soap-covered balloons rolling across the floor. A sharp, prolonged cry came from the kitchen. Who left the blender running without the lid on? Mrs. Thompson, the Whitmore family's longtime housekeeper, had watched Ethan grow from a mischievous boy into a successful businessman. Her face was tense but resigned, as though this was far from the first time, and indeed, nothing ever shocked her anymore. "Sir," she sighed, handing Ethan a mop, "I think the kids are trying to turn this penthouse into a mixed science lab." Ethan looked around. Walls smeared with streaks of blue, purple, and red paint. Muddy little footprints scattered across the floor, proof that someone had sneaked up to the rooftop garden to bring back dirt for research. A kitchen faucet was still running, and no one bothered to turn it off. Ethan muttered the exact words he had spoken 15 times in the past 15 weeks. "Where's nanny number 16? Mrs. Thompson winced. "She left this morning, after the cricket incident with your briefcase." Ethan froze. Of course. How could he forget? Yesterday, opening his Hermes leather briefcase in front of investors, only for dozens of crickets to leap out, creating a shrill orchestra. Even now, the company's stock fluctuated because a $50 million deal had been postponed indefinitely. Hands on his hips, Ethan took a deep breath and whispered, "My own children are my greatest enemies." Just then, a faint sound came from the family library. Mrs. Thompson narrowed her eyes and whispered, "They're hiding in there." I saw pajama fabric behind the Shakespeare shelf. Ethan closed his eyes. Shakespeare, the rare editions he had won at a London auction, now served as shelter for 3 tiny fugitives. He advanced toward the library, leather shoes clicking against the marble like a general marching onto an unpredictable battlefield. When the mahogany door swung open, 3 little faces peeked out from behind the shelves. Sophia's sparkling eyes, Chloe's tangled curls, and Liam's mischievous gaze. "Daddy," Sophia began, her voice drawn out, half defiant, half afraid. "We were just learning," Liam cut in, his paint-stained hands raised in conviction. And we miss Mommy," Chloe suddenly blurted, silencing the other 2. The air grew heavy. That name Rachel always lingered in the house like an unbroken cloud. Rachel, his wife, their mother, died 3 years ago from illness. Since then, Ethan had been steering his tech empire while raising the triplets alone. But he had never truly known how to be a father. He swallowed hard, crouching to meet the three little faces streaked with paint and tears. He wanted to say something gentle, something comforting, but such words felt more foreign to him than any business contract. Before Ethan could speak, a female voice sounded from behind him. "Hello. I'm Hannah Carter. I believe this house needs a new nanny." Ethan turned. Standing at the doorway was a woman in her early 30s, brown hair neatly tied back, eyes bright and steady. She wore a simple shirt and jeans, utterly out of place in the penthouse's opulence. Yet there was a calmness about her, unlike the trembling faces of the 15 nannies before her. The triplets instantly sat up, observing the newcomer, like three scientists evaluating a fresh specimen. Sophia asked first, "Are you afraid of bugs?" Hannah smiled. "Only afraid they'll die without someone to care for them." Liam blinked, visibly impressed. Chloe tilted her head. "Can you make animal-shaped pancakes?" "Not just pancakes," Hannah replied softly. "I can turn breakfast into an entire zoo." The three exchanged glances, then looked at Ethan, as if they had just found the perfect candidate for a role no one else in the world seemed able to handle. Ethan remained skeptical. Folding his arms, his voice deep and appraising, he said, "You do realize this job is nearly impossible, right? The last one lasted 4 hours. Then maybe I'll try to last." 5, Hannah answered, a flicker of challenge in her eyes. In that moment, Ethan felt something unusual. Not just a nanny arriving for a job, but as if Hannah carried a new current of air, something the penthouse had long been missing. The children whispered to each other, but Ethan heard every word. "She's not like the others. Yeah, she actually smiles. Maybe. This is the miracle we need." Ethan drew a deep breath, glancing around the penthouse from the paint-stained rug to the flooded kitchen, from three mischievous little faces to Hannah's steady gaze. And for the first time in months, he felt the faintest spark of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, the woman who had just walked through the door could do what he had never thought possible. Hannah's first morning in the Whitmore penthouse began unlike any other morning she had ever experienced, not with the ring of an alarm clock, nor with the polite knock of a housekeeper, but with a thunderous explosion from the kitchen. It blew up. "Run!" Liam's voice echoed down the hallway. Right after came Sophia's bursts of laughter, mingling with Mrs. Thompson's horrified cry. "Who put marshmallows in the microwave?" Hannah had just set her suitcase down in the nanny's room, not even changed out of the wrinkled shirt she had worn on the early morning bus ride from the suburbs into downtown Chicago. She hurried into the hallway, her brown hair still a little tousled, but her eyes bright, her lips curved in a calm smile. The Whitmore kitchen looked like the aftermath of a storm. Melted marshmallows stretched in sticky streaks across the microwave, clinging to the counters, smeared on the floor, the sweetness so overwhelming it was suffocating. 3 children stood in the middle of it all, eyes wide, their faces mixed with excitement and guilt. Sophia, the eldest, spoke first. "We just wanted to see if marshmallows could turn into bubbles." Liam jumped in, defending their work like a scientist presenting his findings. "It was an experiment. Daddy said science needs curiosity." Chloe, the youngest, shrugged, her big eyes innocent, but it went boom too fast. Mrs. Thompson scowled, ready to unleash a stream of scolding, but Hannah raised a hand to stop her. "All right, let me handle this." She stepped forward, her sneakers clicking lightly against the marble floor. The children immediately fixed their eyes on her, waiting, testing her reaction just as they had done with dozens of nannies before. Every adult had started with anger, then disappointment, and left. Hannah was different. She crouched down to their level. "You know what? Your experiment was actually fascinating." 3 little faces lit up instantly. "Really?" Sophia asked, half surprised. "Of course. But do you know what every great scientist does after finishing an experiment?" Liam frowned in thought. Chloe whispered, "Eat the leftover candy?" Hannah laughed. "Close. But first, they clean up. Because cleaning is part of the experiment, too. No one wants a messy lab, right?" She stood, pulled out some clothes from the cabinet, and handed one to each child. "So, We're going to turn cleaning into a game. Whoever cleans up one section earns a star. Sophia tilted her head. A real star? A star for our science scoreboard, Hannah replied, pulling a whiteboard beside the fridge. Whoever collects 10 stars gets to choose a special breakfast dish. The children exchanged glances, their eyes glowing suspicion fading, replaced by excitement. For the first time, someone wasn't shouting, wasn't banishing them, but turning chaos into a game with rules. Within minutes, the marshmallow-filled kitchen became the stage for the scientific cleanup challenge. Sophia diligently wiped the table, Liam attacked the floor with energy, and Chloe busied herself gathering bowls. Hannah stood in the middle, cheering like a coach. Excellent, Liam. You just discovered the power of friction when you scrub harder. That's right, Sophia. Circles make the surface shine brighter. Chloe, you're the team's best sample collector. Mrs. Thompson stood to the side, jaw dropped. For months, she hadn't seen the children laugh while cleaning. Usually, it was all screaming and running away. But now, the kitchen rang with bright, happy laughter. Ethan walked in, tie slightly askew from taking calls. He froze at the sight, his 3 children cleaning with gusto, while Hannah, eyes glowing, guided and encouraged them. He leaned toward Mrs. Thompson and murmured, "What on earth is happening here?" She shrugged, whispering, "Seems a miracle has arrived, sir." That morning's breakfast was unlike any other. No fighting over food, throwing, or whining for candy instead of eggs. Hannah set the table with animal-shaped pancakes, bears, cats, rabbits. Sophia giggled at the maple leaf princess pancake, the role she was about to play in her school play. Liam beamed at his robot pancake, and Chloe hugged her bunny pancake tightly, refusing to let anyone eat her baby. Ethan sat across, newspaper in hand, but eyes glued to the scene. It had been so long since he'd seen them eat happily together. Stranger still, he heard laughter. Genuine laughter echoed through a penthouse filled only with silence and heavy footsteps for too long. While pouring milk, Hannah told a story. Did you know, long ago, pancakes were considered the food of warriors who needed strength to fight? Like superheroes? Liam shouted. Exactly. And today, our 3 little superheroes will eat pancakes to prepare for their mission, keeping this penthouse from collapsing. The children burst out laughing, clapping their hands together. Sophia declared excitedly, "We'll form the penthouse protection squad." Ethan shook his head, but the corner of his lips curved upward, something rare since the day Rachel died. After breakfast, Hannah took them to the library. Once Ethan's pride, with floor-to-ceiling shelves, rare collections, and the leather armchair where Rachel had read to the children, the room had since grown cold, echoing only with the sounds of hide and seek. Hannah didn't scold when she saw books scattered on the floor. Instead, she invented a game called Living Library. Each child had to choose a book and retell its story with drawings or mime. Sophia picked The Princess and Autumn, Chloe chose a fairy tale about rabbits, and Liam staged Shakespeare the superhero complete with a Batman cape and an old poetry collection. Standing in the doorway, Ethan saw the library filled with laughter for the first time in months. He turned his face away, but his gaze lingered on Hannah, sitting among the children, clapping enthusiastically for each performance. Mrs. Thompson whispered, "Sir, maybe. This is the person our family needs." Ethan didn't reply, but deep down, he knew she was right. As Ethan prepared to leave for an important meeting that afternoon, Sophia suddenly ran up, holding a whiteboard where Hannah had written down their first 3 stars. "Daddy, Miss Hannah says we're excellent scientists. We finished cleaning the whole kitchen." Ethan bent down, looking at his daughter's proud little face. It had been so long since he'd seen Sophia glow like that. His eyes shifted to Hannah, meeting her gaze half teasing, half triumphant. "See? When you turn responsibility into a game, the results change completely." Ethan didn't know how to respond. But as he walked out the door, he realized he was smiling a genuine smile. It was the 5th evening since Hannah arrived. The penthouse glowed with soft golden light, yet the air felt heavy. Sophia sat by the window, wearing the paper princess dress she and Hannah had spent the whole week making. Tomorrow would be the school's autumn play. She had been chosen as the Maple Leaf Queen, a role Sophia was so proud of. She had told anyone who would listen. But now, her bright little eyes were brimming with tears. "Miss Hannah, Daddy will come, right?" Hannah sat beside her, gently adjusting the paper crown. "Sophia, Daddy has a lot of work." "But, Daddy promised." The girl's voice shook. "He always promises and then doesn't come. I don't want people staring at me and asking why Daddy never shows up." Hannah's heart tightened. She pulled Sophia into her arms, whispering, "You'll still be the most beautiful queen, no matter who is there. And if Daddy can't come, I'll be your loudest fan." Sophia nodded faintly, but Hannah could see the sadness linger. The next day, the private school's auditorium glittered with lights. Parents dressed in elegance, phones ready to film their children. Hannah sat in the front row, clapping non-stop. When Sophia stepped on stage, her paper dress glowed beneath the lights. Hannah leapt to her feet, cheering, "Bravo, our beautiful maple leaf queen." Sophia heard her, her face lighting up. But in the moment her gaze swept across the audience, searching for a familiar face, and finding none, her smile flickered and fell. Only disappointment remained, quiet but sharp enough to make Hannah fight back tears. That night, back at the penthouse, Hannah noticed the office door still shut tight and a computer screen's blue glow spilling through the crack. She drew a deep breath and knocked 3 times. "Come in." Ethan looked up, tie loosened, his face weary but distant. "What is it?" Hannah didn't circle. "Sophia performed in her play today. She looked for you from start to finish." Ethan frowned, turning back to stack his papers. "I told my secretary to send flowers and a gift." Hannah stepped fully inside, her voice firm. "You think a bouquet can replace a father's presence? You think a 6-year-old wants anything more than to look into the audience and see her dad smiling at her?" Ethan froze, his grey eyes blinking fast. "You don't understand. I'm keeping this company afloat. If I lose this deal, hundreds of employees suffer. My children need financial security, not a few minutes of applause at a school play." Hannah moved closer, her voice trembling with restraint. "No, Ethan. What they need is you. That's all. Sophia doesn't want a company, doesn't want a contract. She wants her father to look at her, to believe she matters enough for him to leave his desk for one afternoon." Silence blanketed the room. Ethan pressed his hand to his forehead, as if someone had torn down the walls of logic he had built around himself. Hannah's tone softened, tender but unwavering. "I know what it's like to lose someone you love. I know how that emptiness swallows everything. But Ethan, if you keep hiding in your work, you'll lose what's left the children Rachel entrusted you." The name Rachel made Ethan's fists tighten. He turned away, hiding the redness in his eyes. After a long pause, he muttered, "I'm afraid. Afraid that if I look straight at them, all I'll see is her, and I can't bear it." Hannah set her hand on the desk, her voice warm. "No. Looking at them, you'll see her love is still alive. Sophia, Liam, Chloe, they are the best part of Rachel, and they need their father, right now, not a distant CEO." Ethan lifted his gaze. Their eyes met for the first time, not as employer and nanny, but as two people facing raw pain together. In that instant, Hannah felt her heartbeat race. She had spoken not only to protect the children, but because a part of her heart already cared for the man before her more than she should. After that night, Ethan began to change, not perfectly, but noticeably. He started rearranging his schedule, trying to be home for dinner several nights a week. One morning, he even appeared in the kitchen, awkwardly frying eggs with Hannah, making the children laugh until they nearly fell off their chairs. And Hannah, though she tried to hide it, couldn't stop the warmth in her chest each time she saw him truly smile at his kids. But with that closeness came fear. Fear that she was crossing the fragile line between duty and feeling. Fear that, one day, when Ethan realized it, she would be just another nanny forced to walk away. Saturday morning, sunlight streamed through the towering windows of the penthouse. Hannah had just set a pan on the stove when she heard hurried whispers behind the kitchen counter. "I told you, Daddy looks at Miss Hannah just like in a princess movie." Sophia whispered low, but loud enough for Hannah to catch. "Yeah, like the prince looking at the princess before the kiss." Liam added, eyes gleaming, Then we must help Daddy, or he'll miss his chance, Chloe concluded, nodding like a tiny general plotting a campaign. Hannah nearly dropped her spoon. Her cheeks flushed as she turned, feigning sternness. What are you three plotting over there? The little faces froze, then chorused in unison. Nothing, but their sparkling eyes betrayed them. Hannah chuckled, shook her head, and returned to her dinosaur-shaped pancakes. Moments later, Ethan appeared in a crisp white shirt, laptop in hand. He had planned to walk straight into his office but stopped short at the sight. The kids had set the table, and Hannah was pouring batter into shapes. "Why does it look cheerful here?" he asked, curious and wary. Sophia was quick to answer. "We're having a family breakfast. Daddy has to sit with us. No running off to work." Ethan froze. 3 small hands tugged him toward a chair. Hannah smoothly whisked the laptop out of his grip and set it aside. For a split second, he almost resisted, but when he saw the eager eyes of his children, he exhaled and sat down. That breakfast was the first proper family meal since Rachel's passing. Hannah laid out pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, hearts, and even crowns. "Mine looks like a dragon," Liam boasted, holding up a charred pancake. "No, it looks more like a dog." Sophia burst out laughing. Ethan watched them, his lips curving unconsciously. Across the table, Hannah caught his rare smile and responded with a soft one of her own. After breakfast, Hannah drew him aside. "See? Just a few minutes, and look how much joy they have. That's something no contract can buy." Ethan was quiet, then nodded slightly. I'm not good at this." Rachel was always the one who knew how to make things fun. "But you can learn," Hannah said gently. "Children don't need a perfect father. They need one who shows up." Her words sank deeper than any report or investor meeting ever had. As Hannah tidied the living room that afternoon, the children dragged her into a secret conference. "Miss Hannah," Sophia whispered, "Daddy likes you." Hannah flushed, shaking her head quickly. "No, you're imagining things." "It's true," Liam insisted. "Daddy's been smiling more since you came." Chloe leaned close, whispering like it was the most crucial mission in the world. "We're running Operation Cupid. We're gonna help Daddy, and you become a real family." Hannah almost laughed, but their earnest eyes left her speechless. Her heart pounded, sweet and frightening at once. On Sunday, Ethan tried Hannah's advice. He turned off his phone and took the kids to the park. Hannah went along to help, though really she wanted to be sure he didn't bail halfway. Sophia clung to his hand, showing him every red leaf. Liam raced him across the grass. Chloe begged for swing pushes. At first, Ethan stumbled awkwardly, but gradually loosened up, and then his real laughter rang out. From a distance, Hannah watched, warmth blooming inside her. Maybe family wasn't about perfection. Perhaps it was simply about people choosing to try for each other. That night, Ethan stepped onto the balcony after the children were asleep. Hannah was folding blankets in the autumn breeze. He hesitated, then spoke quietly. "Thank you for making the kids laugh. And me, too." Hannah turned to him. The golden light cast his weary but sincere face in a softness that stirred something in her chest. She only smiled and said, "You don't need to thank me. Just keep showing up. That's the greatest gift." In silence, they stood side by side, gazing over the sparkling city of Chicago, and somewhere within them, something fragile and new began to take root. One autumn afternoon, the wind rustled through the trees in the park outside the high-rise complex. Hannah had taken the children to the garden to play tag. Keeping his weekend promise to spend time with the kids, Ethan set his laptop aside and sat on a stone bench, still in his dress shirt, but without a tie, looking less rigid than usual. "Daddy, look how high I can climb," Liam shouted from the trunk of an old oak. Hannah spun around, heart lurching. "Liam, get down right now. That branch isn't safe." But the boy only laughed, stretching higher. "This is where Mommy used to sit and tell us stories. I want to see the sky," like she said. For a second, Ethan froze, Rachel's name striking him like a blow. His face went pale as he leapt to his feet, rushing over. But it was too late. The branch snapped with a sharp crack. "Ah!" Liam tumbled down, hitting the grass hard. Sophia and Chloe's screams pierced the garden. Hannah reached him first. She dropped to her knees, her voice calm and steady. "Liam, don't move. Breathe slowly. I'm here." His left arm bent at a wrong angle, his face white with pain. Ethan knelt beside them, panicked. "Oh God. Liam, are you okay? It hurts." "Daddy." Hannah looked up at Ethan, her eyes fierce with clarity. "Call 911 now. Say, 6-year-old, broken arm, conscious but in severe pain. They'll come fast." Her firm tone snapped Ethan out of his panic. He obeyed. Meanwhile, Hannah slipped off her scarf and fashioned a splint to keep Liam's arm steady. "Listen to me, Liam. Pretend you're a superhero who got hurt after saving a princess. You're so brave. The doctors will fix your arm and make you strong again." Liam bit his lip, then nodded. Sophia and Chloe clung to each other, sobbing. Hannah still found a way to pull them close, whispering, "Your brother is powerful. Let's all cheer for him, okay?" They nodded, tears streaming. The ambulance arrived. Hannah stayed glued to Liam's side. Ethan, the powerful CEO who could sway markets, now trembled like a child, clutching his son's hand and stammering, "I'm sorry. I should have stopped you." Hannah pressed a hand to his shoulder, murmuring, "Don't blame yourself. What matters is he sees you're here." At the hospital, the doctor confirmed Liam had a fractured forearm, requiring reduction and casting. When fear overwhelmed him, Hannah stayed close, telling a tale about a knight injured in battle who still became a hero. Liam calmed, letting the doctor work. Ethan stood outside, watching through the glass, his chest aching. He saw Hannah holding his son's hand, soothing him with a gentleness that felt like a mother's. And he realized she wasn't just saving Liam from panic. She was keeping him, too, the father who looked strong but was utterly lost. When it was over, Liam proudly displayed his new green cast. "Daddy, look, I'm like a superhero with a steel arm now." Ethan laughed through tears, hugging him tight. Then he looked at Hannah. His gaze was so deep that she had to turn away, hiding the heat rising in her cheeks. After settling the children to sleep that night, Ethan found Hannah alone on the hospital balcony. She stood in the breeze, hair lifted by the autumn wind. He approached, his voice husky. "Thank you. Without you, I don't know what I would have done." Hannah turned, her eyes calm yet warm. "Ethan, you were there for him. That's what matters most. Remember, the kids don't need you to be a superhero. They need you present." Ethan fell silent, staring into her eyes. Something surged inside his chest, gratitude, longing, something undeniable. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You're not just helping the children. You're saving me too." The space between them shrank to half a step. Hannah's heart pounded wildly. She should retreat, keep the boundary. But his eyes, voice, everything held her still. Then Ethan leaned down, pressing his lips to hers in a trembling, fervent kiss. Hannah gasped in surprise, but in the next moment, her eyes closed, and she returned it. All the fear, the pain, the long-suppressed desire burst free. It wasn't a kiss between an employer and a nanny, but between two people who had found each other in the wreckage of loss. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Ethan whispered, "I don't know if this is right, but I know I need you. Not just for the kids, for me." Hannah trembled, but her eyes shone. "Ethan, I feel the same." In the quiet night, they embraced, and for the first time in years, both felt truly loved, not as roles they carried, but as the people they were. It all began with an email. Ethan was in the Whitmore tech boardroom, the long walnut table surrounded by directors. A presentation was underway when his phone buzzed. His secretary had sent a message. Urgent. Article about Miss Carter. He opened the file quickly. The headline struck like a blade. CEO Ethan Whitmore's nanny, victim or burden of the past. The article was accompanied by a photo of Hannah and a torrent of details. The car accident 3 years ago in Seattle, when the vehicle she drove was struck broadside by a truck. Her parents and younger sister were killed instantly. She was the sole survivor. The piece twisted the tragedy, harping on survivor's guilt and pointing to her abandonment of her emergency nursing career to become a nanny, insinuating she was too unstable to be trusted around children. The name at the bottom, Victor Langford. Ethan gripped his phone so tightly his knuckles whitened, grey eyes hard as steel. That afternoon, Hannah returned to the penthouse. The atmosphere felt wrong the moment she stepped in. Sophia and Chloe played in unusual silence in their room, while Liam sat on the sofa, hugging his cast. On the coffee table lay a trade magazine, her photo glaring from the side cover. Her heart sank. She picked it up with trembling hands, reading line after line. Each word stabbed at the memories she had buried. The rain, the screech of brakes, the blinding light, the darkness swallowing her whole, and then waking to find her family gone. "Miss Hannah," Sophia crept out, wide-eyed and anxious. "I read it. They said you're dangerous. Is that true?" Hannah pulled her close, tears spilling. "No, sweetheart. The accident wasn't my fault. They wrote it to hurt me." She kept her voice steady, but inside she was breaking. Ethan came home late. Hannah was waiting in the kitchen, pale and rigid. "You read it, didn't you?" He set his briefcase down, avoiding her eyes. "Yes." Silence stretched, heavy. Hannah bit her lip. "I meant to tell you. I just wasn't ready. Not because I wanted to hide it, but because every time I speak of that night, it feels like living it again. I was afraid." Ethan stayed wordless. Hannah's voice cracked. "Do you believe me? I would never abandon the children. Never." Suddenly, he cut her off. "I don't know, Hannah. I need time." The words weighed heavier than any accusation. Hannah felt the ground drop from under her. "Time," she whispered. "Or do you think I'm a burden too?" Ethan clenched his fists, eyes flashing with pain. He wanted to hold her, shield her from the world. But the board's cold stares echoed in his head, their insinuations that he was letting an unstable woman endanger his family and company. "I can't let feelings override reason. I have to think of the children." That sentence was the final cut. Hannah stepped back, tears streaming. "If that's what you believe, then maybe I should go." Ethan stiffened. "No, Hannah, I don't want." "You've said enough." Her voice trembled, but held firm. "I'll pack tomorrow." She turned away, leaving him frozen in the vast, empty kitchen. That night, Hannah packed in silence. Sophia, Liam, and Chloe watched, fear filling their eyes. "Miss Hannah, where are you going?" Chloe sobbed, tugging at her sleeve. Hannah hugged all three tightly, choking on her words. "Not because of you. I love you so much. But sometimes adults make mistakes. And I need to go to protect your family." "No, we need you. Daddy needs you too," Liam cried, tears streaming. Hannah buried her face in their shoulders, her heart shattering. But she knew if she stayed, Victor would keep using her past to attack Ethan, and the last thing she wanted was to bring more pain to the children. The next morning, a taxi waited outside the lobby. Hannah pulled her suitcase behind her, each step heavy as stone. High above, Ethan stood at the window, palm pressed against the glass. His body screamed to run down, to stop her, but his feet felt chained. In his mind, Victor's voice, the board's judgment, his fear of losing control all echoed too loud. Hannah stepped into the car. The door slammed shut, and Ethan knew he had just let the most precious thing slip through his hands. That night, in his darkened office, Victor Langford's voice came over the phone, dripping with triumph. "I see you've dealt with your little nanny problem. Good. A CEO can't let emotions ruin his reputation." Ethan's grip on the phone tightened, veins pulsing at his temples. He didn't reply, but inside, anger smoldered, threatening to burn everything down. He had lost Hannah, but he swore he would never let Victor destroy his family again. The Whitmore penthouse, once filled with noise, had fallen into an eerie silence. No more laughter echoing down the hallways, no more Chloe's off-key singing at breakfast, no more Sophia carefully crafting paper crowns beside Hannah. The place felt as though it had lost its very breath. The first morning without Hannah, Mrs. Thompson set the table as usual. Ethan sat in his suit, which was impeccable as always, but the children did not touch their food. Sophia rested her chin on her hand, eyes far away. Liam tapped his spoon impatiently against the plate. Chloe stared at the door, hoping Hannah would suddenly walk in, smiling as always. "Come on, darlings, eat something," Mrs. Thompson coaxed gently. No one moved. Then Sophia suddenly shot up, her voice sharper than any 6-year-old should be. "We're not hungry. Without Miss Hannah, I don't want to eat." Chloe burst into sobs. Running to clutch the chair where Hannah used to sit, Liam slammed his spoon down and shouted, "Daddy made her leave. It's Daddy's fault." The room froze. Ethan felt like a fist had struck him square in the chest, but no words came because they were right. A new nanny arrived the next day, a middle-aged woman with an impressive resume. She lasted 3 hours before storming out, hair disheveled, cheeks flushed red, after the penthouse protection squad declared a hunger strike and locked her in the wardrobe. "No one can replace Miss Hannah," Sophia yelled as the door slammed. Ethan came home just in time to witness the chaos. He barked orders, but the 3 little faces only looked back at him with cold, accusing eyes. On the 3rd day, another nanny came, young, energetic, seemingly a better fit, but after one meal, she ran out in tears when Liam dropped a plastic spider in her soup, and Chloe screamed, "Don't pretend to be our mommy." Once again, the penthouse returned to silence, littered with the wreckage of a child's rebellion. After the children had gone to bed at night, Ethan sat alone in the library. Rachel's books still lined the shelves. The little whiteboard Hannah had made on the desk still bore the first 3 stars. He touched the messy scrawl "Penthouse Protection Squad." His chest tightened painfully. He remembered her calm eyes when she handled chaos, her soft laugh when the children won a game, the kiss on the hospital balcony, the one that made him feel less alone than he had in years. And he remembered the shattering look in her eyes when he said, "I need time." He had chosen wrong. Instead of holding on, he had let go. Instead of fighting beside her, he left her to walk away alone. A week passed. No nanny lasted more than a day. His children grew withdrawn, refusing even to speak with him. Sophia locked her door, scribbling in a shaky hand, "I miss Miss Hannah. Daddy doesn't understand." Ethan stumbled upon the notebook by accident. He sat for hours, trembling hands clutching it. Finally, Mrs. Thompson spoke bluntly, "Sir, if you do nothing, your children will lose faith in you forever. They don't need another nanny. They need love. They need Miss Carter." Ethan lifted his gaze, eyes heavy. "Do you think I don't know that? But I hurt her. I don't know if she'll forgive me. There's only one way to find out," she said. "You have to try." That night, Ethan stepped onto the balcony, gazing over the glowing Chicago skyline. In his hand, his phone displayed an email from Victor Langford, full of smug remarks about how wise he had been to remove such a liability. Ethan deleted it instantly, his hand shaking with fury. Losing Hannah hadn't been wise. It had been the greatest mistake of his life. When he went back inside, he found his 3 children asleep together on the sofa, clinging to the same pillow Hannah used to hold. On Chloe's lips, a faint murmur slipped out in her dreams. "Don't go, Miss Hannah." Ethan's heart splintered. He knew he could no longer hesitate. Hannah might never forgive him, but he had to try, not just for himself, but for the 3 little ones slowly losing their smiles. Monday morning, the penthouse was steeped in an unusual silence. Generally by this hour, Sophia would be reciting poems, Liam would be dashing around with his toy sword, and Chloe would be humming as she played. But when Mrs. Thompson entered the living room, she found only empty sofas, scattered blankets, and no sign of the children. Panic surged as she ran through each room. Bedroom doors stood open, beds untouched. On a desk lay a scrawled note. "We went to find Miss Hannah. Don't worry. The Penthouse Protection Squad will reunite the family. Sophia, Liam, Chloe." Beneath were 3 crooked drawings, a crown, a sword, and a bunny. Ethan received the news on his way to the office. His phone buzzed non-stop as Mrs. Thompson's frantic voice spilled through. "They're gone." The children left a note. They went to find Miss Carter. Blood froze in his veins. He whipped the car around, heart hammering. At the penthouse, he gripped the note, vision blurring. They were far too young to be out on their own. But Sophia had overheard Hannah mention Seattle once. He bolted into his office, opening his laptop. In the browser history, 3 searches glared back. Cheap flights to Seattle, how to buy plane tickets online, and do kids need passports? His hands dropped limp to his sides, fear and awe surging together. He hadn't dared to run after Hannah, but his 6-year-olds had. At O'Hare Airport, Sophia led her brother and sister through the crowd. She clutched the credit card Ethan had given her for school books, now turned into a one-way ticket. "Are you sure, Sophia?" Liam whispered, clutching a tiny suitcase. "Yes, Miss Hannah needs us. Daddy doesn't understand, but we do." "But what about Daddy?" Chloe asked nervously. Sophia squeezed her hand tightly. "If we bring her back, Daddy will thank us." With innocent determination, they marched to the check-in counter. The attendant blinked at the 3 small faces, but Sophia pulled out the card, speaking with surprising authority. "We have to fly. Someone important is waiting." Meanwhile, Ethan tore through traffic, his chest pounding like a war drum. He called security, described the children's features, and begged them to hold the line. Rachel's voice echoed in his mind every second. "Protect our children." When he reached the check-in counter, his heart nearly gave out. There they were 3 small figures holding hands, about to enter security. Sophia, Liam, Chloe. They spun around. Sophia's face paled, but she planted herself in front of her siblings, her voice shaking. "Don't stop us, Daddy. We have to find Miss Hannah. We can't stand it without her." Ethan dropped to his knees in the crowded terminal, gasping for breath. Arms wide, eyes brimming, he pleaded, "Do you think Daddy doesn't miss her too? But going like this is dangerous. If I lost you, I couldn't survive." Chloe burst into sobs and leapt into his embrace. Liam wavered, eyes trembling. Sophia bit her lip, tears glinting. "Then come with us. If you really love Miss Hannah, fight for her. Don't just sit in your office." Her words sliced straight into him. The children had done what he hadn't dared to step past fear. He pulled them all close, voice breaking. "You're right. Daddy was wrong. But this time, we'll go together. Our whole family will go to Seattle to bring Miss Hannah home." That night, the plane soared westward. Ethan sat in the middle seat, Sophia and Liam nestled on either side, Chloe asleep against his shoulder. Outside, the sky stretched endlessly, Chicago shrinking into a sea of glittering lights. He gazed at their small faces, then closed his eyes. In his heart, a vow thundered. "Victor Langford, I won't let you tear my family apart again. And Hannah, whether you forgive me, I'll fight to prove this love is worth everything." Above the dark sky, the plane carried them toward the west, toward Seattle, and toward a fragile but blazing hope. The plane touched down in Seattle beneath a thin veil of morning fog. The city glistened damp, skyscrapers reflecting the gray sky, and Mount Rainier stood capped with snow in the distance. Ethan gripped his children's hands tightly as they stepped out of the airport, like a man waking from a long nightmare. Sophia whispered, "Where's Miss Hannah now?" Ethan already knew. For weeks, he had quietly tracked the scarce hints he could find. Hannah working for a doctor's family in Queen Anne, caring for 4-year-old twins. The address glowed on his phone, his heartbeat hammering against his ribs. The white-painted wooden house sat on a tree-lined street. As Ethan and the children approached, the door opened. There she was, Hannah, hair tied back, sweater simple, face pale as she froze at the sight of 3 small bodies sprinting toward her. "Miss Hannah." Chloe clung to her legs, sobbing. Liam grasped her sleeve, and Sophia tilted her face up, eyes blazing with hope. "We came to find you. Daddy's here too." Hannah lifted her gaze, and there was Ethan, standing on the steps, breathless as if he had run through a lifetime to reach her. In an instant, anger, grief, and love all surged back. Inside, Dr. Chen politely left them space. Hannah sat on the sofa, children huddled close like birds returning to their nest. Ethan sat across, no longer a polished CEO, just a man trembling at losing what mattered most. "Hannah," his voice was rough. "I was wrong. I let fear and Victor Langford lead me, instead of my heart. I doubted you, I hurt you, and I taught my children to believe another man's words could destroy love." Hannah bit her lip, stroking Chloe's hair with a shaking hand. "Ethan, you said things I never thought I'd hear from you. You turned my love into a wound. I don't know if I can come back." only to be doubted again. Sophia broke in, her small voice firm. "Miss Hannah," Daddy cried. "For real. I've never seen him cry like that. I think this time, he won't give up." Liam added earnestly, "We flew all the way from Chicago. If you don't come back, then we'll stay here with you." Hannah gathered them into her arms, tears streaming. She had tried to leave to protect them, yet their tender hearts had been the cord pulling her back. Ethan rose, stepping closer. He dropped to his knees before her, pulling from his pocket a small velvet box he had carried for months, never daring to open. Looking straight into her eyes, his voice cracked but resolute. "Hannah Carter, you brought light back into my family. You taught me that being a father isn't about providing presents, love, and courage. I let you go because I was a coward, but before our children, I won't be a coward again today. I love you. Be my wife. Be Sophia, Liam, and Chloe's mother. Be the heart of the Whitmore family." The room went still. The children held their breath. Hannah stared at the simple, elegant ring, hands trembling against her lips. "Ethan, you hurt me deeply, but you and the children also healed me. I'm terrified, but I don't want to miss this love again." She nodded, tears falling like rain. "Yes, I will." The children erupted. "Miss Hannah will be mommy. Yay." Chloe bounced on the sofa. Liam raised his fist triumphantly, and Sophia wiped her tears with a radiant smile. Ethan slipped the ring onto Hannah's finger, then gathered her and the children into his arms. In that embrace, every wound, every distance, every doubt dissolved. The family crowded into Dr. Chen's little kitchen that evening, sharing pizza while rain pattered outside. Laughter filled the space, drowning out the storm. Sophia sighed dramatically. "Daddy, we need a wedding in Chicago, at Millennium Park. With flowers, music, and ice cream," Liam chimed in. "And I'll carry the rings. But this time, I won't drop them." Chloe hugged Hannah tightly, whispering, "Don't ever leave us again, Mommy." Hannah glanced at Ethan. He squeezed her hand, eyes steady with a vow, never again. Outside, Seattle rain fell gently, but inside that house, a family had been reborn. May sunlight bathed Chicago, spilling through the penthouse's vast windows, gilding the silk carpet and glinting off the wedding gown hanging in the room. Hannah stood before the mirror, fingertips grazing the delicate white lace. Her heart fluttered with nerves and joy today. She would become Ethan Whitmore's wife, and more than that, Sophia, Liam, and Chloe's mother. Sophia knocked, clutching a clipboard like a true wedding coordinator. "Mommy, the schedule's ready." Flowers arrived on time, the cake's on its way. "And Daddy's nervous." Hannah laughed, pulling her daughter into an embrace. "You've done an amazing job. Thank you, sweetheart." Sophia straightened the veil with solemn care. "I just want today to be perfect, because Mommy deserves it." Millennium Park had been transformed into a fairy tale garden. Beneath towering maples, rows of white chairs lined the aisle, flowers draped everywhere, golden lights twinkling like stars. At the center, a white floral arch stood before the bean, reflecting the brilliant Sunday. Guests filled the seats, close friends, a few of Ethan's business partners, and neighbors who had witnessed the Whitmore's transformation. In a tiny suit, Liam carried the rings on a velvet pillow with such grave concentration that the crowd chuckled. Chloe skipped down the aisle, scattering petals, a little fairy in her own world. Sophia, in pale pink, held Hannah's bouquet with unhidden pride. And then, Hannah appeared. Ethan stood waiting at the aisle's end, black suit perfectly cut, eyes locked on the woman walking toward him. As she drew near, whispers fell away, only music and the pounding of two hearts remained. The vows were simple, yet unshakably true. Ethan's voice was steady. "I promise never to let fear guide me again. I promise to be present, love, and raise our children with courage and kindness. You are my heart, my home, forever." Hannah's voice trembled, but held firm. "I promise to love you in both radiant and stormy days. I promise to love Sophia, Liam, and Chloe as my own. I promise we will be a family not because fate forced us, but because we chose each other." Applause thundered as they sealed it with a kiss. Sophia squealed, "Happily ever after." The reception unfolded in the park music, candles, laughter swirling into the evening. The children took turns making speeches. Liam solemn, Daddy's not alone anymore. Chloe, glowing, I have a mommy now. Sophia, triumphant. The Whitmore family is unbeatable. Laughter rang out, glasses lifted high. Ethan pulled Hannah to the dance floor. As a soft melody played, they swayed beneath the lights, the children spinning in circles around them. Hannah leaned against his shoulder, whispering, I never thought I'd have a day like this. Ethan held her tighter. Neither did I. But because of you, it's forever. Winter came. Snow blanketed Chicago in white. In the warmth of a hospital room, Hannah cradled two newborns, Sebastian James and Sophia Elena. Sophia, Liam, and Chloe crowded the bedside, eyes wide with wonder. Chloe asked softly, Mommy, can the babies hear me sing? Of course, Hannah smiled, placing the baby in her daughter's arms. Ethan sat beside her, eyes glistening. He kissed Hannah's forehead, whispering, Thank you for believing in me, for turning broken pieces into a whole home. Hannah replied firmly, her gaze steady. We chose each other, Ethan, and that's the greatest strength of all. Outside, snow continued to fall. But in that room, with laughter, warmth, and the love of a family that had grown from 6 to 8, winter's chill melted away. They had found their forever, and it began today.